The death of the Pac-12 conference, the Conference of Champions, is gone. I call it Black Friday. I mean, it was a terrible story, the way this whole thing evolved. There are only 4 teams left in the, quote, Conference of Champions, and no one at this point knows what's going to develop, what's going to happen. Let me walk you through the timeline I tried to put together because this was really hard. The Pac-12 thought that they had everybody lined up with a TV deal with Apple TV. Pac-12 people, I think it was the presidents and the ADs, met on Wednesday. And the commissioner, George Kliavkoff, said, we have a deal. We will present it Friday morning, review it right then, and vote on it right then and there. And that also included the deed of rights, in which the school turns its marketing contract over to the conference. Conference goes to the bidder and says, all 12 teams, or 10 teams, because there is no USC, UCLA any longer, these 10 schools are committed to this contract. Let's sign the deal and go. They showed up at 7 a.m. Friday morning, and Kliavkoff unveiled a deal that was structured differently than the deal he talked about on Wednesday.
Oh.
On Wednesday, he had talked Apple TV streaming subscription will be the primary team. We would then have linear TV after that. Now, he didn't detail who it was, but the rumors, and we had talked about it, the rumors had leaked out that Disney and ESPN might have been back in the hunt, and they talked to NBC, and they talked to the new CW network, which is diving into sports. They talked to TBS and TNT that kind of got there real late, and they talked to ION TV. None of those rights holders were part of the deal that was presented at 7 a.m. And the presidents of the Pac-12 schools, or the 10 schools who would have voted on it, looked up from the table and said, this is not the deal we were talking about on Friday. And what happened between Wednesday and 7 a.m. Friday was that all the TV rights holders, those subsidiary networks, said, no, we're not paying you a chunk of money if you're giving all the marquee games to Apple TV. That included, obviously, the prime afternoon game on Saturday, a Saturday night game, and there was a creative aspect of this, that Friday night football. And if you're giving Apple TV all that, the other rights holders who might be partners, the linear TV networks, said, no, we're not taking these second and third tier games for a big chunk of money. So all of a sudden, the Pac-12 presidents are sitting there and saying, this is not the deal. So then the Pac-12 presidents, first of all, said, no, we're not giving you the rights of deed. No, we're not accepting the Apple deal. And within an hour, Oregon announced, we're going to the Big Ten. An hour later, Washington's president said, none of this is viable. We're going to the Big Ten. Wow. And within 3 hours, by late afternoon Friday, and this is why I had a headache, Arizona, Arizona State, Utah defected. And Utah and Arizona State were components that said, we must stay together, keep this West Coast Conference intact. They gave up, and they wound up going. So by the time we got to Friday night, we were down to the Pac4. And Oregon State was shocked, and Washington State was shocked, and Cal and Stanford were really upset because they had lost all their key components. Apple had proposed year one, out of the gate, $20 million per school. $20 million. That's a cut from what the Pac-12 network was given the league. $20 million. Year two, they came back and said, we project year two, we can bump this up to $31 million. Oh, but by the way, that's based on the fact we'd have 1.7 million subscribers by that point in time. Somebody from Washington and Oregon stood up and said, wait a minute. You think you're going to get 1.7 million in year two so we get a pay hike? You got Lionel Messi. You have the MLS package. You've sold only 800,000 subscriptions with all the excitement for Lionel Messi. What makes you think you can get to 1.7? Third year of the proposal was they could take this thing to 50 million. This is what Apple said to the Pac-12. Take it to 50. But that's based on the fact we'd have 5 million subscribers by the third year.
Wow.
And at that point in time, everybody in the conference said, that's ridiculous. You're tying our health, our financial well-being to the ability to sell subscriptions at this crazy number. Nobody's 5 million subscribers to PAC12. It doesn't work at all. So the whole financial deal just absolutely disintegrated. And as all that was going on, Oregon left, Washington left. The Big Ten gave them a $30 million first-year fee with a promise the second and third and fourth years would probably reach to the $50 million everybody else in the Big Ten is getting. And then the Big 12 came back to the corner schools, and they told Arizona State, Utah, you come in the front door, you'll get the full share just like we gave Colorado last week. So they get $37 million walking in the front door of the Big 12. So that's why this thing fell apart so badly. What was talked about Wednesday was not in the package on Friday, and there was no linear TV as part of the deal. Really ugly. I just think it's catastrophic. And then today, there was another meeting of the PAC4, and they indicated at noon on Monday, we're not merging with anybody. We might add, but we're not merging with anybody, which means the Beavers and the Cougars, the Golden Bears and the Cardinal are not coming across the street to join the Mountain West Conference. Now, where they're going to go to cherry pick, that's a big issue there because there's hardly anybody out there outside of the Mountain West schools. So, John, that's the timeline. Now you know why I had to take 2 Tylenols on Friday, because the story kept changing. And then my network of people were able to provide me with some background. And this is, like I said, always promised Wednesday, surely did not show up on Friday. And that's why we are where we are right now during our Monday bonus podcast.
Well, it's interesting how the Apple TV wanted the marquee and the linear TV got the leftovers. Usually it's the other way around, where the streamers get the leftovers and linear TV gets the marquee. So it's a further example of the world shifting. But the way you broke that down, Hacksaw, you can't blame Oregon and Washington and the corner schools. It's a no-brainer to leave. And granted, I get the whole concept of, hey, we sell more subscriptions, we can offer you more money with Apple TV. But these other guys are getting a guarantee that's more money than they're getting now. So a no-brainer. But it doesn't surprise me that Cal and Stanford specifically are trying to remain kind of at that elite level because they think of themselves highly, as they should academically. Would they merge? I don't know. I mean, it's changing by the hour, but it makes sense to see some of the better Mountain West teams come together and retain that PAC8, PAC12 name and the Power 5 conference. And that actually might turn out to be a good deal for San Diego in the end.
We'll have to see. But that's where, and there was an addendum on Friday morning. In addition to all the stuff that was missing in the proposal, there was a clause at the bottom of the Apple proposal that was given to the presidents on Friday, asking or demanding or telling each of the schools, you're going to pick up the production cost for Pac-12 football and basketball. So in essence, Apple wanted a sweetheart, low-budget deal with maybe some promises of big money down road. And by the way, you pay for the cost so we can have the sweetheart deal on our streaming service. And it just brought the house down. Guys got up from that table, walked away. And within an hour, the Ducks were gone. And within 2 hours, the Huskies were gone. And by late afternoon, no Sun Devils and no Wildcats and no Utes either.
End of an era.
Oh, my God, just terrible. Okay, from that.